Okay. Hi, we're going to be doing some more fascia flossing today. This will be more kind of upper body, kind of rib cage, diaphragm, shoulder girdle focus. So again, I'll talk through some of the meridians that each of these moves are tied to as we go along. And yeah, these feel really good, especially if you're experiencing some restrictive breathing. Just kind of a feeling of being tense or on edge. This can be really helpful. So this is going to be our starting position. You're going to have your knees down. They're roughly under your hips. They can be a little bit wider if you prefer. And the elbows are going to come directly under the shoulders. Forearms are going to be planted on the mat. From here, you just want to feel your ribs scoop up a little bit so that we're not kind of sinking into this overly extended position. Once you feel that gentle hug up, you're going to start to pull the elbows back on the mat like they're dragging towards your knees. At the same time, you're going to send your hips back to your heels. And then when you can't contract anymore in your elbows, you're going to shift forward. So the movement we should feel as we draw the elbows back, likely some tissue lighting up in this back of the armpit, lat, kind of posterior rib cage area. And as you're going along, feel free to increase the tension and maybe even increase the curve in your upper back to create more spread across the back of the lungs, back of the diaphragm. Okay. I also like to play with here, not only pulling the elbows back energetically, but also trying to pull the forearms apart, right? And they won't actually move anywhere. It's just this energy of pulling back and then maybe even tractioning out to get that extra spread across the shoulder blades and across the back of the rib cage. Okay, so as you're going along, feel free to change your angles up. You can take your forearms slightly to the right. That's going to create a little more spread across that left back of the scapula into the lats. Okay. So I'll do a few each way, and it's intuitive. You can even play with shifting your hips in one direction and then the other. You might come across some dense areas, places that could use a little more spreading, a little more kind of blood flow, heat coming into them. Two more like this. And then I'm going to flip to the other side, but again, take what you need here. I'm going to feel out what feels good. Maybe straight on the whole time feels nice. I do find it helpful to release tension in the back of the neck as I do these, so just gently curling the chin down towards your throat to lengthen out the back of that neck is really, really helpful, especially if you tend to hold your head in a forward position for a lot of your day. Okay, we'll do about 4 more here. Nice. As you come back to center, you'll start to bring your forearms all the way together. Flip your palms up towards the sky. And then from there, we've got this nice kind of press through the back of the forearms. We really want to scoop those ribs up for this one. You're going to plug your forearms into the mat. And then it's like we're going to arc over. The right ear is going to go in the direction of your mat. And you'll look kind of to the left. And then you'll come back through center. You can release some of that pressure on the forearms. And then we'll do it to the other side. So it's essentially just a rotation with a little bit of resistance in the back of your arm, back of your shoulder blade. If you can relate to this, right? Like back of the ribs, back of the diaphragm, if that's an area that is particularly sticky for you, like it's really hard to send breath there, this is one for you. You probably have a lot of scar tissue built up around the back of the lungs and like kidney area. So yeah, if you can relate to that, that is really powerful stuff here. You get a nice little twist. I'll do a little switch to the more of the front so you can see a different angle. Ooh. Breath here is natural, right? You just want to make sure that you're not holding it in, especially as it gets more intense, to kind of hold the resistance in these positions. Try to just let out a soft exhale, right? Try not to clench in the jaw or in the facial muscles. We go for 4 more. Okay, from there, you're gonna flip on over. We're gonna find a seat facing either way. You're gonna have your feet out in front of you with your knees bent. And I like to have my feet about hip width apart for this, not too wide, but not completely together. Hands are gonna go behind you. And for this, we're just gonna start with our fingertips facing towards the hips. This is working a little bit more front of the shoulder head. So this is technically pericardium channel. If that's, something that you're interested in, this is what we're kind of channeling here. The last ones on the mat were a bit more large intestine. Okay, so we're gonna start to bend the elbows, sinking down. This is just kind of like you're relaxing into the position, finding this kind of fold at the joints. The resistance comes in. We're pushing the hands down into the floor. We're also feeling as though our fingertips are sliding towards our hips here. So fingertips are pushing forward. At the same time, you are slowly lifting your chest up, and we're just finding a little more straightening in the arms. And then you're gonna bend the elbows, relax it back. So the goal here isn't necessarily to straighten out the arms completely, because we want to keep that tension. You're pushing the fingertips forward as your chest arrives up, right? So if we were to kind of go right into locking out like this, we're kind of missing out on an opportunity to really grab on all of that tissue in the front of the shoulder head and the pecs and really spread it apart. Right, so you can kind of think of locking out your joints as just sort of skipping that scar tissue, right? So we don't want to necessarily do that during these. Whew, these are a lot. So, there's heat, might be a little bit of like a detoxing sensation. Totally normal. If you are feeling like you want to add to this, something fun to try, keep that same resistance as you arrive into that more straight position of the arms. Keep the resistance and pull your hips up. Just a little reverse bridge, right? That's a ton of opening through the front of the body. So take it if it feels good. We'll do 2 more here. Ooh. And then you relax it down. Take a second. From here, we're gonna go back to some small intestine stuff. So for this one, you can either just sit like so. I'll face the side so you have a better angle. If you find that for this one, it's hard to just sit, as is, you can boost yourself up. Cushion, block, pillow, whatever you've got. Just give your hips a little height. That can feel nicer on the hip joints if you need a little height here. Feet are wide for this one. Your elbows come in between the knees, and then we start to make a prayer position with the hands. The engagement for this one is pressing the elbows apart, right? We're lighting up that tissue in the outer shoulder, back of the scapula. You keep pushing your elbows against your knees, but your knees start to close in. Okay, so you can feel at the very end range of this, if you're really pressing those elbows apart, it's like a deep spreading happening across your back ribs. Those scapula, shoulder blades are spreading apart. Okay, let me turn, not fall over. But yeah, as you do this, it's also really nice to try to round that upper spine a little bit, almost like you're going into a cat spine, and then we open. Okay, again, play with speed and take it slow, but it's also valuable to play with speeding it up, right? Just, we want our fascia to be as resilient and as adaptable as possible. So we want the ability, the choice to access this tissue moving slowly, but also moving quickly, because life is not, predictable. We want to be able to have as many choices as we can. So it's really fun and nice to play with lots of different speeds, lots of different angles here. Okay, we're gonna do about 4 more like this. Whew. I get like a really big kind of rush of, I don't know, just stuff flushing out as I do these, right? There's a lot of excess hormones that can live in your fascia, so sometimes doing this work, you kind of get that rush of like things leaving your system, we're eliminating, and yeah, clearing things out. Find the next push in and try to hold the resistance with your elbows, and then just try to send the arms forward and push your heart backwards. Really expand through that back diaphragm. Keep the resistance here and just give yourself 3 breaths in and out. Inhale, expand the back of the rib cage. Exhale, full breath out. Right, as you're exhaling, we're trying to send the lungs backwards as we reach those arms forwards. It's almost like a deflating of the sternum. It's going back into your body. And then we come out of that. Yeah. So from here, let's go ahead and try a little bit more twisting now that we've warmed some things up. So for this one, we're going to come to a kneeling position. We're going to take the left foot forward to start. And then you're going to take your right elbow and just hook it across to roughly the outside of this knee, kind of lower thigh area. Okay. We want to feel like we're hooked into position. And then you're going to take your left hand and grab the back of that right wrist. We're going to push the right wrist into our left hand. That's the resistance here. You continue pushing that right wrist as you slowly twist, cranking that arm to the outside of that left hip. We recoil, we come back to center, and then we do it again. Okay. I will say you might want to pad that back knee for this one. It can be, staying here for a while can be a little intense, especially if you have more sensitivity there. And then just another note, I can get this sometimes. I don't know if this will be relatable, but if you happen to feel any sort of nervy thing of like kind of putting your elbow on a certain part of your knee, just feel free to adjust and get more of like the fleshy part of your elbow to kind of hook in. I find like more on the outer elbow tends to be better for me. Sometimes if I hit it on a certain point, as I'm pushing across, I can just get some like nerve discomfort. Not anything wrong, it's just I think if you're a little bit more sensitive in your elbows, that can be something that you experience. Okay, and try to recoil and face the front each time you unwind yourself from that twist. 2 more here. Then from here, just a little side body opener, you're going to hold on to your right wrist, take the arms in this exact shape and just lift them up to the sky. You're gonna then curl into yourself, right elbow is pulling in towards your right hip, and you're gonna keep pretending to pull your elbow down towards your right hip bone, just drag the arms up and over, finding a little side bend to the left. Okay, so again, we drop into our right hip, we pull those arms up and across, right? Moving a little bit out of the frame, but stay with that, and I'm just showing you on the floor here as you're going up and over. It's gonna look like this, okay? So we'll take that for 3 more. 2, pulling that elbow, imagining it's trying to draw towards your hip bone, right? Like we're making a little accordion kind of movement here. Ooh. From there, hands come to the mat. Just a little kind of reset here. Press yourself back into a little downward dog, walk it out. Right, send some energy into those ankles. Really press through the balls of the feet, press through your hands. Okay, got it for 3, 2. Good. And then as we come back down, I'll turn and face the other way, but feel free to stay the way you are facing. You're gonna step your right foot forward, and then from here, we're gonna take left elbow across, outside of that right knee. Grab the back of that left wrist. We push the arm across, rotate the chest. Recoil, face back to center, and then start again. Great for digestion, great for your diaphragm. Whew. Great for just general rib cage, thoracic spine movement in general. If that's somewhere that you feel restricted, it can be helpful to open up the fascia in this kind of rotational way. Go for 4. I will say here, I am pressing down through my legs a lot just to create a more stable base for myself. There's a lot of things happening. Pushing that right foot down, pushing the left shin down, that gives my pelvis a little bit more support. Just something to kind of play with in your body. Okay. We're gonna lift up. Keep that same shape in the arm, so you're still holding the left wrist. We curl into ourselves. Left elbow comes in towards the left hip. You imagine that your left elbow is trying to squeeze towards that left hip bone as you drag yourself up and over to the right. Little side bend. Okay. Nice resistance here the whole way. Again, I'll just show you that pathway at the bottom. Like this, yeah. And as you're seeing, you can do this in all sorts of different directions. That lunge just gives you a little extra spread in the left hip flexors. 2 more. And 1, we come down. From here, go ahead and just find a seat facing forward. We're gonna take just a little kind of spiral of the rib cage. Maybe you are on your knees, maybe you're sitting down in a chair, maybe you're standing up. For the sake of this shot, I'll just be seated here. But we're just gonna take hands behind the back of the head. Also feel free to give yourself a hug. And I want you to just start by curling your chin in towards your chest, really rounding through that upper spine. When you've reached that kind of halfway point, you're gonna start to rotate, turning your chest towards the right thigh. That's gonna lead you into a little side bend. You're gonna then go up and over, looking at the ceiling, keeping that chest open to the sky. Side bend to the left. Curl towards your left thigh, and then find that forward flexion again. Okay, and then we just start to smooth it out, up and around, right? Staying curious at every part. It's okay if it's really sticky in some areas. You just want to move through it, finding some spirals, right? Opening up new pathways for that fascia to move. Let's go the other way. Rotate to the left, side bend. We go up and over, sternum is spreading open. And even though that they may feel, stiff and sticky sometimes, your ribs are actually pretty malleable, right? They're able to shape shift and do all these really interesting positions. So maybe just changing the way that you view them in your own body is something that could be of value to you. I know it certainly helped to change that relationship I had to my rib cage. Last one here. Yeah. And then we will stop there for now. Just